I'm going to try to share screen and get us started here. Okay, and all right, so oops. So as many of you probably know, the IAS is the university's interdisciplinary center that promotes collaborative and innovative research. We are across all the system campuses and across all of the colleges and disciplines in the university. We do not have a topical focus. And we are also increasingly encouraging people to be involved in public scholarship and intellectual exchanges across and beyond the university. When we are located, we are located in Northrop Auditorium on the east bank of the Twin Cities campus. And we have offices there for our staff, but also for all of our faculty and interdisciplinary doctoral fellows and community scholars and artist fellows to have offices. For faculty, the residential fellowship at the IAS is for a single semester. All University of Minnesota tenure line faculty are eligible unless you have had an IAS faculty fellowship in the past 5 years or you are a member of our advisory board. If you have been, for example, a member of a research and creative collaborative, that does not affect your eligibility. You are eligible. It's designed to allow you to participate and benefit from an interdisciplinary community of scholars. People work on very different kinds of projects while they are at the IAS. And what we are really doing is we are trying, in theory, to buy out your teaching for a single semester. The cap is actually that we pay half of your salary and fringe up to $30,000 a semester. For some colleges, that is truly equal to half of your salary and fringe, and for some others, it is not fully half, and your college covers the remaining portion. If you're from a non-Twin Cities campus, we cover relocation expenses and to make it possible for you to be in the Twin Cities for participation in the community. Obviously, at the current moment, it's easier to participate from a system campus because we are all virtual. We have offices for everybody, offices or cubicles, and we give you that workspace as well as a computer and printer access while you're using that space. And we also provide access to a lot of resources that you have in a general sense, but maybe in a more focused sense while you are a faculty fellow. And that includes the IAS grants developer. We usually do a session with University of Minnesota Press editors talking about the publishing process. We have regular partnership and liaison with Dash, and we have our own dedicated library liaison. And essentially, the way we work is by being a community that comes together a couple of times a week. So there is a weekly work in progress seminar where each of you would be presenting your own work once during the semester and getting feedback. And you can make that seminar what you want. You can pre-circulate a reading of reasonable length, not your entire book manuscript, but you can pre-circulate a reading, you can have people do brainstorming, you can have people, you can do a presentation, formal or informal. There are a lot of different modes and models for this, and it's really up to you and what work you present that you want feedback on. That is also really up to you. To make sure that everybody does know what each other is working on, we do have a retreat at the beginning of each semester so that you get to know each other and hear a little bit about each other's projects before you do a longer in-depth presentation on your own. This semester being virtual, and so another thing that we offer is that we encourage you to participate in IAS public programming, whether that be attending the IAS Thursdays or reading groups that we sponsor, or other kinds of public programming that we have. When we're in residence, we tend to have what's called tea time once a week, which is an opportunity for informal discussion and workshopping. We are this semester being a virtual community. We actually have set up open Zoom writing hunker rooms every morning, and we're about to add afternoons. And so people will come together just to sort of work in the same space, touch base at certain time intervals with each other. And we've also, we're also organizing other kinds of opportunities, such as we'll ask you for people that you would like to invite to hear your work in progress presentation and maybe comment on it, and who might also then serve as an IAS Thursday presenter. So it's time for you, but it's also community and intellectual community. And it's not a carefully curated community, and that actually has turned out to work well, in the sense that some people, because of your departmental responsibilities, will have to indicate which semester you can do this. And some people will say, I could do it either semester. And part of this community is interdisciplinary doctoral fellows, and the selection for IDFs is controlled by the university, by the grad school. So we don't usually know until late in the spring how many interdisciplinary doctoral fellows we'll have, or where they'll be coming from in a disciplinary sense. And what we've learned over the years is that almost always there are fruitful groupings that emerge in the course of the semester-long fellowship, and we can rarely predict what those would be anyway. And so the collective, you really tend to find who can be most helpful and productive and generative for you in that group on your own. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Here are two things that the fellowship is not. Unfortunately, you still have your service obligations, and we encourage you to talk to your department chair in advance about whether they can be reduced or postponed in some way, but we know that sometimes it cannot. Most people obviously attend to their graduate students over the course of the semester, even though you're not teaching. It's also not just the equivalent of a single semester leave, where your time is entirely your own. It really is an intellectual community, and your participation is important, not just for what you get out of it, but for what everybody else gets out of it too. And and again, in that sense of sometimes that's really unexpected, I will borrow from Erica Lee's story, which is that her book on the history of Asian America was actually almost done when she had an IAS fellowship. And she ended up totally revising the book and taking longer to do that, but then produced what is, a national award-winning book. And she didn't expect that that was going to happen when she came to the IAS, but it turned out to be a really fruitful semester for her. And you will get stuff out of the community, but what you offer back is really important as well. This is just our sort of basic demographics. We've had, since 2006, we've had 196 fellows from 56 departments or programs, 13 colleges or professional schools, and 3 campuses. And at least 63 of those people were assistant professors at the time of their fellowship, and who went on to earn tenure after that. There is no limit on what level somebody needs to be at to apply for the fellowship, and our experience is that it divides pretty evenly between assistant, associate, and full. Okay, and of course, our favorite comment is intellectual candy store, but essentially, we survey our fellows, we get good ideas from our fellows about how to tweak and improve every year, but basically, I think the overall feeling is that this has been a really beneficial experience for more than just the issue of having time to work on your own work. I mentioned that the interdisciplinary doctoral fellows are part of this intellectual community. How many we have can really vary. This year we have 5. We occasionally have a postdoctoral fellow or another scholar who has a fellowship that is funded by a grant. So for example, we had a Mellon Foundation Sawyer seminar on rethinking the Mississippi River in an era of climate change, and we had a postdoctoral and a graduate fellow funded by that grant. We have visiting external faculty. Usually they are people who are coming who are interested in participating in the community and coming with their own funding. They're on sabbatical or something like that. We have occasionally had programmatic external faculty fellows. And depending on the number of interdisciplinary doctoral fellows we have, we also have community scholars and artists in residence. So they're people who are active in the community. It can include professional administrative people at the University of Minnesota, but it's just, again, another way to broaden the intellectual community and get multiple perspectives and points of view. So we've had playwrights, fiber artists, painters, independent geographers, people working on sustainability, government officials in that category. Okay, and I'm about to turn this over to Susanna because she can kind of walk you through yet another quirky University of Minnesota online form. But the applications are due at noon on Monday, November 9th. The reason we have it at noon is if there is some technical crisis, Susanna can help you fix it before the end of the day. It is an online application process, and it will route for approval to your department chair and your college dean. And so what we want you to be sure and do is talk to your chair in advance of your application. Your chair is not reading or commenting on your application. It is very common for chairs to approve the multiple people applying from their department simultaneously. But you do need to give your chair a heads up. You need to talk about whether either semester of the year would work for you, or whether you would be limited to one semester or another because of your teaching responsibilities. By the way, we do not look at that at all in the selection process. It's only after the selection process is over, so it will not bias anything in that regard. We have a committee made up of members of the IAS advisory board, and at least one of those members is themselves a former fellow. And then we announce decisions by the end of January. So I'm going to let Susanna actually talk about this slide, and then she can about the application requirements, but and then she'll also show you the form. But before we
actually, the next few slides are about what goes into your project description.
Oh, okay.
But I can do this slide.
It's yeah, not in presenter view, so I can't see where the flag is to turn it over to you. I'm sorry.
We use the workflow gen process, whatever, to route and approve your application so that your chair or head and your dean or chancellor can approve it. So what you need to put in is you'll write in your abstract. There are 2 documents that have to be uploaded. One is your project description, 1,500 words. If you are making references, you can have a list of works cited. That does not count in your word count. And then your complete CV, you know, whether it's 4 or 24 pages, the whole thing. Your description and your CV have to be PDFs. And you can upload up to 3 additional files. Usually this is for people who are working in some kind of visual field, whether they want to show a graph or you know, they are artists or art historians or something like that. So again, PDFs, and you can attach up to 3 more of those. But don't do letters of support, no writing samples. Yeah, don't send us a chapter, because we're not going to read that.
Right.
All right.
Okay, and here's what we want to know, as in every application: what is your project and what is its significance? Why is this important? What are you planning to do overall for the project, and then particularly while you would be at the IAS? And why apply for an IAS fellowship? How do you expect being part of an interdisciplinary community would benefit you, and how do you see your own contributions to that community? And then with whom and how does your work connect in the academic or broader community beyond the walls of the academy? And you'll see at the bottom of this slide in red, your project is, we frequently get asked whether we are trying to link projects with existing IAS projects or research and creative collaboratives. And the answer is no. This is really absolutely wide open, your own projects, no topical or thematic relationships required. And what we want you to do as part of your proposal is just sort of say, you know, who your work connects with as part of why, you know, why it's important. Okay. And we're giving you the cheat sheet here. Do not say, I just need time to finish my book. Despite giving you the cheat sheet, somebody will say that every year. And then also, it's fine to have a project that you're absolutely at the beginning of and trying to figure out where it's going to go. You know, my project is nearly finished and I already know where it is headed. You might think from my story about Erica that that was the stage she was in, but she actually was genuinely still wrestling with a few things that ended up totally changing her project. The other thing, which is sort of common sense, is that we try to balance the reviewers in a kind of field sense, but it is likely that there will not be somebody directly from your discipline reading your project, and so you should be thinking about avoiding jargon and making it legible to to a more general academic reader. And we also have non-academics. We have community members on the IAS advisory board. So it is also possible that there will be a non-academic reviewer as well. Okay, 2 or 3 faculty may apply together as a team, but we will consider each application individually. If you are applying as a team, some of the same general project description can be used across the applications, but you also need to really indicate what is your individual contribution and what you'll be working on explicitly. Okay, and Susanna, over to you. So I should stop sharing, right?
Yes, and I was just
while Susanna's loading up, are there any questions?
And I did just, answer a question that was in the chat. And I'm,
okay.
Of course, this is the moment that my cat decides that she wants to be involved with all of us. But, that's how it always works, isn't it? Meet Penelope. Okay, I am going to walk you through the actual, unless, oh, I'm sorry, are there questions? Any questions so far? Sorry, sir?
Yes, I thank you for running this session. I have a couple of questions actually. One is, how big or small of a project are people? You're saying that you don't want to say as trying to finish our book, but is a chapter or an article or what is the scope of a project that typically would make sense for a semester fellowship? And then my second question is whether or not denied applications will get some feedback.
So, so people really sort of decide what is the appropriate scope for them. We had one person who produced 4 book chapters and several articles, and we thought they blew everybody's mind. Let's talk about a really disciplined person. But it is much more likely that you will work on 1 chapter or 2 or 1 or 2 articles, and lots of times your main project might. Or, yeah, we've had somebody work on a grant proposal. As I mentioned, we had a playwright who was working on polishing. We've had somebody actually who was working on a play and a dance. It really can vary. We have realistic, if you're working on a piece of something, you probably want to tell us what's the bigger project it's part of. But we don't have unrealistic expectations about what anybody will do in a semester. And the other thing is that sometimes people choose to present something that is really kind of their side project at the time, because that's what you want, that's what you want feedback on. And for grad students, we've also occasionally had somebody suddenly get a job interview and their presentation became their job talk instead, so that they could get feedback on that. Yeah, Anita.
Yeah, so I just had some questions about how do you know if it's a competitive proposal? I'm in STEM education, so biology education, and a lot of what I'm hearing is humanities specific, and I kind of trying to get a sense of what makes it competitive and what makes it interdisciplinary and what you're looking for in that kind of sense.
So, so actually, you've put your finger on something that we do recognize, that the whole structure of the faculty fellowship works most easily for people who are not in a lab. However, we have had, you know, electrical and computer science engineers. We've had you know, we've had people from the College of Biological Sciences, and we are very interested in sort of far field interdisciplinarity. And so part of it is what you yourself think what kinds of input and experience of interdisciplinarity you're looking for and that you think will help your project. And I can just say, in a general sense, it is beneficial that we have people from very different fields, because everybody asks a question often out of their own disciplinary perspective, and that's a really useful learning experience. One of the things that often happens is people recommend readings and other sources to each other, or other people's work that they think could have some relevance. And people think about that in a very broad way. It isn't that they're working on something close to you. They could be in a completely different discipline, but there is a methodological spark there, or a geographical relationship that could be beneficial. I don't know, does that help?
Yeah, that helps a bit. Thank you.
And Zernita, we didn't answer your second question, which is, yes, if an application is not successful, you can ask for feedback. I staff the selection committee and I take notes. So what I usually do, if someone asks for feedback, I send the anonymized comments, basically.
Can I just ask a follow-up? So if I submitted one in my newbie year, but I didn't know that I was supposed to ask for feedback. Is it too late to ask for past feedback?
Send me an email and I'll check to see what I have. Happy to help you. But send me an email, or otherwise, you know. Any other questions?
And the other, yeah, other questions? And I would just say the other thing is just, you know, there are many excellent proposals, and you know, so seriously, don't take it personally. So that, yeah, that's
yeah, yeah. Sometimes the
other,
very painful.
yeah, it's I mean, it's exciting for us. So Susanna and I are not on the selection committee, and it's exciting for us to read everybody's work and know what you're doing. And, you know, one of the other things we do is it like helps us to know what a wide range of people are doing. And if we see other opportunities, you know, we try to make connections, so, for you. Okay, any other questions before Susanna goes through the technical piece? All right, Susanna. Okay. Oh yeah, Erin. Wait, Susanna, just a second. Erin has a question.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, it was taking me a second to unmute. So in terms of the projects, can they be something, you know, instead of like focusing on the maybe intellectual contribution, are you interested in projects that have, that are thinking through methods?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have, one
Absolutely okay.
some time ago now, Maria Damon, who used to be in the English department here, who's now at, I forget, Pratt or something. She's a poet, but she also is interested in fiber arts, and she brought her loom and she made 2 big pieces while she was in residence, which was really cool. Which one of them is hanging in our office right now. Where I saw her, but there it is, being beautiful. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm going to share my screen and actually walk through. Oh, that's interesting. Walk through. Let's see. The application process. Okay, I'm going to do something experimental here. Can you still see the IIS homepage? Okay, cool. It was on my other monitor and I moved it. Oh, very exciting. Alrighty. So if you go to our main page and click on opportunities and scroll down a little, you will see for faculty fellowships. So you've probably already been here because you knew about our information session. But again, scroll down. This will give you the detailed info on what it is that you need to be ready. And then here is, this is the link to the portal. And I'm just going to point out this page because it also gives you very detailed explanations of what you should be doing here. So we have the link to the portal. So let's go. You want to do new request. So you click on new request and you just scroll down to faculty fellowship application. All right, here you go. It autofills with your info, so only you can apply for yourself. And I'm just going to start to apply for a fellowship. So I am at the Institute for Advanced Study. Now here you want to make sure you really do click on the right one because this is going to auto route your application to your dean or chancellor. So
Suzanne,
yes?
can I interrupt you?
Oh,
I'm not seeing a page where you're actually entering anything.
Oh, how very
I'm seeing a page that starts with college and campus, title,
okay.
etc.
Okay. Are you seeing me typing now?
Are you typing in project title?
In project title?
No, I see a cursor or an I in project title. And that's
Oh man. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna stop screen sharing. I'm gonna start screen sharing again. All right, which one? Ha. Okay. Let's see.
Okay, that's better.
All right, so you missed my whole walking through the
Yes.
Oh, all right, well, here, let's just do it this way. We would go to the IIS, opportunities, faculty fellowships, scroll down to the portal link. And so again, here you have details about how to complete the form. And then, and I will talk through all of that. And then here is the link. All right, let's do it again. Okay, now you want a new request. You scroll down, IS Faculty Fellowship. Here we are. Okay, let's do this again. Institute for Study. All right, so select your college and campus. So again, this is going to route your application to your dean, so make sure you get it right. If you're in the College of Liberal Arts on the Twin Cities campus, we have 2 different associate deans who approve, so do make sure you you know which one your department rolls up to. Worst comes to worst, if it goes to the wrong one, I actually do speak to one another, and so we'll get it straightened out. I'm going to choose other because if Jennifer approves my application by mistake, I don't want the Dean of Veterinary Medicine wondering who the hell I am. So
And
you have your title.
Can I interrupt you again?
Please.
The department is your department. Susanna
Yeah.
listed Institute for Advanced
Sorry,
Study.
sorry.
Her department. Okay, sorry.
Okay, your project title, it's always about cats. So yeah, your title. So here's where you have your abstract. So you'll do your some or whatever that is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you do have the thing telling you how much space you have. If you are applying as a team, as Jennifer discussed, you can do that. You would put their name here, but that's not a requirement, obviously. You have to say, if you have a semester preference, you mark it here. As Jennifer said, we do not take that into consideration when revisions, and only once in the 15 years that I've been doing this did we end up with 7 people that had to be in one semester, and then we had a little bit of discussion, and then several of them wanted to move after all. So it makes it easier for us if you say no preference, but honestly, you know, if you have to teach something in fall semester, then say spring. Okay, so so then we come to the files you have to upload. So you have your proposal. It's pretty easy. You just hit browse. You look for, it'll bring you to a thing, you know, a place to look for your files. You click on whatever file you want. You hit open, and boom, it's there. And then if you want to, you can look at it to make sure that's the right thing. Yeah, now you're going to get to see, I wonder if this will work. No, you probably didn't see it, did you? Well, anyways, it would be there. Also your curriculum vitae, click open, there it is. Now here is where, if for example, you're doing an art history project and you want to show the work of the artist that you're working on, or if you have graphs showing, you know, CO2 levels and whatever, you would do those here. Okay, so any questions so far? Yeah, Zernitsa?
So for the question on the non-preference for a semester, if we say no preference and then something happens in the coming year in which you say you get the fellowship, but something happens in your program or something else in life happens, is it possible then to assert a preference?
Yep. And I don't think a single year has gone by where where somebody didn't email me after their application to say, I said fall and it has to be spring, or I said no preference and it has to be fall. So that's not a problem at all. Again, just if you realize that you're wrong, I mean that what you put down is not accurate, just let me know, and then we can update the internal records before we, if you're selected, before we actually assign you. Okay, any other questions? And I can't see everybody, so if you do, just pipe up. Okay, cool. Alrighty, let's move on to approvals. See, it's pretty short, this. So here you want to put in the internet ID of your department chair. And if you need to look that up, you would do that here, right? Let's go back to my application. No, shoot, where was it? Oh, for heaven's sake. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, and of course, the internet ID of your chair is their email address without the @umn.edu. So my chair is Jennifer Gunn. And if I do this by mistake and try to submit it, it will tell me that I did that wrong. So it will keep you from doing that. Please, again, be very careful about what you type in here because this is going to route it. And if you send it to the wrong place, it will, I mean, if you mistype, it'll go to the wrong person, and then we'll have a good time figuring that out. Okay. And that's that. Then you can save it as a draft and come back, or you can submit. So I'm going to submit. And that really is it. Then when that happens, you will get an email. You can then also go back and check to see where your application is at. So, so where it is, it's there. there, and now it's just waiting for your chair's approval. When your chair, you will get an email when it's been submitted. You will get an email after your chair approves it or doesn't. Very occasionally, someone their chair will say, you need to change something, like you have to say you can only do spring, whatever. So they'll send it back. You have to do a new application. You can't, once it's been rejected by your chair, you just have to start a new application. After your chair approves, you will get another email saying it's gone on to your dean. After your dean approves, you'll get an email saying that it's gone to the IAS, and then there you have it. And we do announce by the end of January. In most years, we actually are able to announce in December, but it totally depends on the schedules of our selection committee. All right. Are there any questions? I hope that was clear.
Yeah, David?
Yes, thank you for this helpful information. I have a quick question about some of the timelines. So if you have a grant proposal out right now that you should hear by the end of the year, if you get it or not, that may change the scope of what you proposed, whether you either you get it or you don't. And I'm just wondering, how would you, what's the best practice on how to treat that? Do you just kind of discuss in the proposal, I have this pending grant and here's how we do it? What do you suggest?
You don't even have to tell us. We always have a 2-person waiting list, and and it is not, I would say, at least every other year, if not every year, one person gets another fellowship. So this is a single semester fellowship. If you get an American College of Learned Societies fellowship or something like that, or you get a big grant, then, and it doesn't make sense to do this, you just withdraw and we offer it to the next person. And we just appreciate knowing that as soon as possible.
I think it's a different question, actually. You're wondering how do you frame your proposal if you don't know whether you're going to have you're going to have like the opportunity work on that part or the opportunity work on that part. Is that what you mean, David?
Yeah, I think so. What I mean is actually this proposal would be for summer funding, and it would actually occur before if I were
I see.
So if I actually get that, it would change. I'd be doing potentially a lot of data collection before, but if I don't get the grant, then I would do it during the fellowship if I were to get that. You see what I'm kind of saying? I'm just wondering how to.
Susanna is a better listener than I am, obviously.
Oh no, that's okay.
So actually, the reality is that what work you end up doing while you're at the IAS may change, but the basic project is the same. But we have occasionally had somebody come in thinking that they were, going to be working on a book chapter, and end up that they decide to develop this article, that is a significant spinoff, and that's okay. It happens, and most likely it's going to be related. And the other thing, well, kind of what Susanna was talking about in terms of Maria Damon's project, what you propose to do may not be your core intellectual project. And the IAS is a place that you can explore new and different directions. So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see there was a question in the chat about teams. There's one thing about teams. We have had in the past 2 and 3 people applying as teams, and the selection committee was not completely convinced about it working together as a team or something on those lines. And so like one person was offered a fellowship and one was not. So the team is not necessarily, each application is considered on its own merits as well as how these projects work together. So so if you apply as a team, it doesn't mean that all of you are going to get in. most of the time, I mean, in my experience, either everybody does or everybody doesn't, but I can think of at least one case a long time ago when it didn't. There's a little ill feeling. But the person did make it in as a fellow. Some years later, it was a wonderful fellow. So, you know.
Any other questions? Wow, you guys are easy. We are available by email, and again, just do touch base with your chair. This isn't, you know, they are not passing judgment in any way on your project, but you don't want to get to the point where they reject it because you haven't talked to them about it, and or that you have to re-enter the whole project because the semester issue changes. And I think, as Susanna indicates, the semester issue can change after you're already committed to a semester, and we just do the best we can to shift. And it's pretty much always worked. Yeah, Kathy.
I have a question about that. So I did begin communicating with my dean, who's actually relatively, you know, Catherine Squires is in a new position as our associate dean. So I don't know if she knows how we've typically handled this, and I don't either. And the question is whether, should I be concerned about whether fellow faculty members are also applying? Not from kind of my own school's coverage aspect, but from the aspect of, like, is IAS going to sort of say, that's enough people from this department, we want to spread the wealth? Like, am I in competition with my own colleagues if multiple ones come forward at the same time?
So we have had, we've had department chairs try to tell us that they could only sacrifice one person, you know, per semester, which is, again, talk to your chair ahead of time, but they've approved many people in their department applying at the same time. And the reality is we have had more than one person from the same department in a given year. If that happens, unless there is a reason to keep them together, we will try to have them in separate semesters just for the diversity of the community. But it has happened, and we try. I mean, we are looking for balance, but I think the search committee really reads every application individually, and so you know, in a general sense, that is not usually at all an initial factor. Okay. But again, it's another reason to just sort of get everybody on the same page. Every once in a while, we have had a chair or a dean sort of force somebody to pull back their application. And usually it's been a case where there was no previous consultation, and how course coverage was going to happen had not been negotiated. You know, and that, and so, you know, we just try to make sure. But we, like I said, we have regularly had multiple people from a single department apply, and the chair has approved every single one of those applications. So,
okay, thanks.
A piece of advice that was given to me once was, it's their job to reject you. You know, don't you decide that you shouldn't apply because whatever. So Anita asked how many applications we get per year. It varies. Last year we got fewer than normal. We had about, I don't know, 35, 37. And I think it was because there was a lot of just uncertainty about the leave policy and that stuff. Normally we get more in the lines of, say, 45 to 55, and we make 12 offers a year. And usually have an alternate list of, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 6. And in most years, we will take at least one person off the alternate list. I'm actually super curious to see what applications are like this year, because I recall back in about 2008 when we went into the recession, and people were just, you know, the university was making cuts, we were on furlough, and people were really just beaten down. We had funding, we had our fellowships, we had collaboratives, and we had other sources of funding, and people weren't applying. And I think it's because people were just too depressed. So I'm really curious to see what this delightful year 2020 is going, what effect it might have on applications.
Yeah,
So you know, your chances might be better. Who knows?
So one of the things that happened last year, and this is again the conversation with your chair, was that with the change in sabbatical policy, a lot of people were suddenly eligible for sabbatical. So we think that one of the reasons we had fewer applications last year is because chairs did tell people, I have too many people suddenly going on sabbatical or getting the last of the single semester leaves, and I just can't have that many people potentially going at once. But I will also say that most chairs err on the side of generosity to say, go ahead and apply and see what will happen, and we'll try to, you know, we'll try to work it out. So. Any other questions or thoughts? Oh, and word count. So Susanna, word count, the works cited and all the references don't count in your word count. There's nothing on the document that's actually counting for you, so you don't have to upload it as a separate document. Just put it at the end.
Yeah, the 1,500 words is just so that it's an even playing field in terms of your actual proposal and what the reviewers are reading. You know, they will look at your works cited, but it's not like they're, you know, reading it in the same way that they would your proposal.
All right. Well, if you have any other questions, feel free to, oh, and you know, one of the things, David, you, in the chat, you raised a question about, oh no, sorry, this was somebody else, Kyle maybe, about visiting scholars. I don't know that we've ever had anybody apply as a team with an outside scholar or a community scholar. I think that's possible, but the thing you should know is there is not formally any money for the scholars and artists in residence, and at this point we keep asking for it, but we haven't gotten it yet, or for an external faculty scholar, but we would certainly be happy to consider a team that involved that. And always happy to ask for money that nobody is going to give us anyway, but we ask. So, okay. Well, we look forward to your applications, and please let us know if there's anything else we can do to help or clarify.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to seeing your applications. Erin?
If we want to talk about specific projects in the FIT, is there somebody we should talk to specifically?
You can talk to either of us, sure.
Okay.
And I would say it's just for the two of us, it's just whichever one is more easily available.
It's
at a different point in time.
Yeah, some of it's just general. Like you know, I know IAS selects projects, the board selects projects that some of them are about Minnesota and some of them are, you know, it's a shift for me to think about like going from Haiti to doing stuff in Minnesota, but I think a lot of people are shifting gears.
Yeah,
For obvious reasons. Yeah.
And I think that's supported. I just want to make sure ahead of time.
Oh yeah, like if so in other words, you're moving into a new area, probably thanks to this pandemic. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing to talk about in your proposal. because that certainly is a good argument for the kinds of input that you would get from as you're familiarizing yourself with a new area and looking into new work, how cool to have all these other lenses on that. I mean, you can't predict who else is going to be if you get a fellowship, who else is going to be in residence with you. But still, I think that would be, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem at all.
Good. Yeah, because I was wondering, I'm like, it'll look very different than the one that I put in as a newbie.
Well, and remember, the committee changes every year.
Yeah.
And so chances are whoever's reading your application this time didn't read it last time.
Okay.
Which I have to say, Darnay, says the downside of giving feedback, because it's like, well, that's what this committee thought, but we're so changeable. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Anything else? While we're here. Well, nice to see you all. Good to see you.